The boomers screwed things up so bad. The boomers screwed things up so bad. Watch it in the video to fully understand why and how the boomers screwed things up so bad and the implications that it's going to have for society. Guys, I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and the boomers have really left society in a really bad state. And the crazy thing is that so many of them right now are just looking for their next hit, their their next move. Like they're heading into old age. Some of them are beginning to pass away. I never thought it would really happen. And a lot of them are becoming destitute. Many of them are now trying to move in with their millennial or Gen X kids. And a number of them are in really poor health. And their kids have to now become their caregivers. And I just kind of think it's ridiculous. You look at the education system, and you have people who are so anti-education right now, or basically anti-school system. Let me correct myself. That they believe that McDonald workers or service workers are more valuable than teachers. And while these people will argue that you can learn everything you need to learn on YouTube, that's not entirely true. You do need the education system. You do need teachers to teach children the basics of reading and math when they're at least when they're young. It's not that simple, and the average parent is not equipped to teach to homeschool their kids. If you get rid of the current education system, you have to replace it with something else. And it's like you kind of look at how things are right now. We are 100% divided, and things are just getting worse. You look at the United Kingdom, and you look at the extreme tyranny. Right now, misogyny in the UK, extreme misogyny, and they're not able to define what extreme misogyny is, by the way, is now being branded terrorism. And if you it is now being considered it will now be considered terrorism, and you could be carted off to jail for anything. And consider this could be, for example, if you have someone playing an online game and they say something that the state doesn't like, they can be arrested, they can be taken off. They can be taken off by, what is it, MI6? Or the English version of the FBI, and that's the end of that, or the local police officers. And it's like crazy if a boy is in school and a girl says that he said something, it doesn't matter if it's true. It's not just limited to women. It can be used by anyone whatsoever, because you have to think about it right now. In online games, it's now, if a man is playing a game online, it could be considered a boy, or a boy. Anything he says can be considered, misogyny, and now that's terrorism, and he loses his basic human rights. Like, how absolutely insane is that? And what the crazy thing about this is that this is only going to drive more and more men and boys to the Tates, because this is inhuman treatment. It is absolutely inhuman treatment. If you look at what they've done to Andrew and Tristan, they've turned them into martyrs. And then now look at what they're trying to do to young men and men in the United Kingdom, and you see the exact same thing now happening to them, where they'll just basically pick you up and take you away, and that could be the end of you, and they'll torture you. All for what? Just for simply existing? And they're going after, they specifically mentioned vol cells, so not just the INCELs, but vol cells, so men who deliberately choose to remain celibate. And really, they're not simply talking about the INCL community, they're talking about single men. It's a war on our minds. There's there's nothing. Men are hated more in Western society than the cockroach, and we need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge just how much they hate us. They hate us so much it is significant. They do not like us. They cannot stand our guts, and it's a sad reality. It's a painful reality. When I see guys being stupid in the comments, it pisses me off sometimes, because it's not a game. Like, our lives are literally at risk right now. Not just our lives, but our sanity. And I tell you, I made a poll recently where I said, take $10,000 or go back in time, and real and do things all over again. Go back to your childhood and do things over. A lot of people said they would go back, but then there were some people like me. There's some people who were very similar to me who said, yeah, I couldn't go back and relive that trauma. Like even, and it's the truth. I knowing what I know, I've thought about it many times. There'd be nothing I could do. My father was such a violent man that if I ever tried, if I went back with my mind that I have right now and ever tried to stand up to him, he'd probably end me. I might not even be like I would not return to this year. That would be the end. Like it's just like when you realize there's just some really evil and awful people in this world, and it's like it's funny how childish some men are. I realize some men never grow up. Some men never grow up. It doesn't matter what happens to them. It's like when you hear that some guy was married 6 times until he finally learned his lesson. It's frightening. It's absolutely frightening. You were married 6 times, and now you're like, oh yeah, you guys are absolutely right. Don't get married, bro. You were married 6 times. 6 times. It's frightening how bad some guys are. For a lot of men, the only things that they want is basically physical intimacy and to have a full belly. All right, their belly should be full and their balls should be empty, and they don't care. They will torch the entire world and they will betray God for a woman, for their wives, and they listen to me. They don't care. They will march off to hell. These men will. Adam was the first simp. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of men struggle with loneliness, and that's one of the things that's one of the worst things that we have as men is loneliness. It's hard to be alone. It can be so hard to be alone. Women never have to truly experience what men experience. They'll say, "Oh, I'm lonely," but they're full of it because they'll just go and find a simp at any given moment. All right? It's true. Women are never really truly alone. If they want someone, they have someone immediately. Even a homeless woman can find someone instantly. And not just someone, a pretty decent man. Granted, that door is beginning to close. But for for us men, we live so much of our lives alone, struggling, going through extraordinary hardships. How much pain and suffering have we passed through? And even as we try to walk away now, they won't let us go in peace. I see morons in the comments that are trying to dispute my recollection of the Roman Empire, and it's absolute bullshit. All right? It's because of what happened in the Roman Empire. It's because it started with no fault divorce. It ran through women basically running off with gladiators, choosing to run around with Chad and Tyrone, divorce their husbands. The empire completely subsidizing the living of women. Guys, if you look at what's happening in the Philippines right now, it's 2 months. Like they've reduced it from like you can no longer, you have to get an extension. You have to go down to the office every 2 months to request an extension. You're like, these men are so stupid. These men are so dumb. They're putting their lives at risk every 2 months, and they're now scrutinizing the applications. So and these guys are like, oh, okay, well, I'm fine with it. I'm thinking to myself, when you get thrown out of the Philippines, because one, it's torture. Having to go every 2 months is crazy. All right, you are not on good ground, and you're still acting like that place is your home. And when you get thrown out of the Philippines, then you're going to turn around and act like you want other men to feel bad for you. And it's like you were being warned. You were told that it's just like common sense. But because you did not want to, look at things relatively from a normal perspective, from a realistic perspective. You just wanted to keep on ensuring that your balls are empty and your belly is full. You wouldn't accept reality, and now you put yourself in a situation where, well, you can't stay in the Philippines anymore, and you don't have American money anymore. Like you don't have that kind of money to live in the United States. Well, guys, we're heading for mass homelessness. We're heading for mass homelessness. People do not have that kind of money anymore. Like people are living off credit. People are living off credit right now, and it is absolutely insane. Everything is going downhill. And when I hear that the real estate market in New York is going to continue going up, I just think to myself, you've got to be freaking kidding me. You've got like houses that were sold at, in the late 1960s, a house that sold for $20,000, which was expensive, very like double what houses were selling for back then, are now selling for $3 million. Not, and that's not even in Manhattan. That's in places like Brooklyn. And if you want that in Manhattan, we're talking about like $50 million. Like, I'm like, what the living hell? What the living hell is going on? No one's going to be able to afford these things. Yes, we do have a very wealthy class in the United States, but it, I mean, it's just not as large as people think it is. I don't think, like, I mean, what, Beyonce and Jay-Z, Mark Cuban, you know, Kanye West, like these very, very wealthy people. Outside of these very wealthy people, like, who the hell can afford this stuff? The average person can no longer afford anything, you know? And of course, it differs by state. There are some of you who've been able to, own property and pay things off, but it's different depending on where you live. And everyone's situation is different based on if they went to school and got lost tons of money getting an education that went nowhere. And of course, someone goes, well, whose fault is that? Yeah, true. You were listening to the boomers and people back then that told you if you don't go to college, you're not going to amount to anything. You're going to end up being like the welders. Like, look at these guys with their flannel. You want to be a welder, son? You want to make $15 an hour, son? All right? Or you want to be a man? You want to be a rock star? All right? Get this degree. You'll start off at 55,000. All right? That's what you're gonna start. 55K. With that money, you can go purchase your first home. Get yourself a girl. You're gonna have a good life, young man. All right? See, this college degree, it's gonna take you places. Fast forward 20 years. Over 20 years, everyone's fucked now. Massive amounts of student loan debt, miserable. Millennials are basically idolizing Gen Z because Gen Z is like walking away and telling everyone to go fuck themselves. I mean, it's a hard reality that we live in. Let me make it clear. I'm not praising Gen Z either. I'm not praising them for that bad behavior, bad little muffets. But I'm just saying, like, it's just so bad right now, and the boomers screwed everything up, and we're heading for an extreme collapse. We're heading for like immense poverty across all generational lines, and it's going to be the older millennials and Gen Xers, Zennials, Gen Xers that are killing it. They'll keep on grinding and pushing. When I see some of the comments sometimes, the angry comments from people in like that are pissed off that I have this YouTube channel and I'm building and that I'm grinding. I work hard. They hate my success. And of course it's like, haters are a part of life, but it's just such a level of resentment and anger. Like, why would you resent my hard work? And the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of people who are like, well, they're just not capable of doing certain things. And I'm like, bro, you just didn't want to put in the work. You just don't want to put in the work. You did. A lot of people are absolutely lazy, guys. A lot of people are lazy. They're lazy and they don't want to put in. They don't want to put in the work. And I understand. Back in the old days, they had all of these factory jobs where you could graduate from high school and go get a nice factory job. That's what the boomers did, and you can live life that way. And you don't have that anymore. You have everything is so technical. But to say that people working at McDonald's should be getting a livable wage where it should afford food, shelter, and allow them to support a family is a crock of nonsense. Crock of nonsense, guys. By the way, if you're enjoying the content, couple of things for you. Subscribe to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy, and also subscribe to the Angry Guys Clip channel, where we post shorter videos and video responses, and also the Angry Guy Live channel, where we live stream. Both channels are linked in the description. And also, guys, protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Click the link in the description to get started and support the channel. What do you think, guys? Do you agree? The boomers really screwed things up. Let me know your thoughts. I will talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA. Men walking away. And cheers.